Hello and welcome, my beautiful friends. My name is Mo. I'm the head organizer for the 7th iteration of the Children of the Mountain Racing program. I do welcome you to the event and hope the following information gives you a decent understanding of how this championship works, or at least enough to keep you from asking me simple questions. So what is COTM? COTM is fundamentally a championship racing series in which drivers race in 8 50-minute races and score points based on where they finish. The kicker about COTM, though, is that the drivers are split into a max of 8 divisions, assuming 112 drivers. Each division then has 14 drivers with similar skill levels. Drivers are then promoted and demoted in and out of divisions throughout the series. To initially sort drivers into the starting divisions, COT1 Xbox hosts a 10-day sweat festival qualifying. This time around, though, there are some changes. In past seasons, qualifying was simply a time trial, where your best lap after 10 days determined your starting division. However, in Season 7, there are 2 parts to qualifying running at the same time. One part is indeed a time trial, but instead of drivers' 1-lap pace determining a starting division, it instead awards points. The other part of qualifying is a consistency test, or a CT. This CT is a 30-minute, non-contact session in which race time ultimately decides your starting division. It is suggested drivers approach the 10-day qualifying similar to preparing for a race, in which early week practice sessions are for time trial times, and then at the end of the week, the CT is attempted. Similar to Season 5, Season 7 is providing a crowd-funded prize pool for its drivers. Of course, it is most fair to only pay out the best drivers, but in the spirit of Brother Adrian, the event is going to sort the top 50% of drivers from qualifying into groups of 8 to 12, of which do not change during the event and have no relation to the event's divisions. These groups are initially based on qualifying and then revised manually by the participants and staff to ensure that the groups are as fair as possible. Late joiners are not eligible to win any money. P1 and P2 of each group will be paid at the end of the season, and the prize pool is guaranteeing $500 to be paid out, but it is accepting donations throughout the event, which may lead to a larger purse. As stated before, Season 7 organizes a max of 8 divisions, where drivers are promoted and demoted week to week. The number of drivers per division has decreased this season from 15 to 14, therefore the number of promotion and demotion granted spots has also decreased from 5 to 3. That is, the top 3 drivers in each division, apart from Division 1, are promoted to the division above for the next round. The drivers who finish 12th and below, apart from the current bottom division, are demoted to the division below. Drivers who do not show up or disconnect are automatically demoted. If more than 3 drivers are demoted, the division will simply have fewer drivers in the following round. Given drivers are allowed to have a reserve driver race for them, assuming they are unable to attend themselves, it must be stated that a reserve driver who finishes in a promotion granting spot is skipped over. So, for example, if a reserve finishes P2, then P4 is promoted. Reserves may still demote drivers, but they cannot receive fastest lap points, however they do score full position points. If a driver is unable to race in more than 2 races, they are automatically moved to the waiting list. COTM is the people's event, in which tracks and cars are not solely determined by the staff. The content selection team does provide the parameters, but the participants vote on the tracks, and the almighty wheel assigns the cars. All divisions drive on the same track, but the wheel assigns a car per division where no 2 divisions are driving the same car. Looking at the weekly schedule, 9 days before a round on Fridays, the track vote opens for that round. 4 tracks are available to vote from, and only participants that test the tracks are eligible to vote. As well as the tracks being up for a vote, the hand-picked selection of cars that are to be randomized by the wheel is announced. The tracks and cars are announced each week, giving the participants a little less than 6 days to practice the tracks. Voting is done in a Discord channel in which voters have 5 votes to use. They may use them however they like. They may spend 5 votes on one track, 3 votes on one, 2 on another, etc., but they must use all 5 votes. Track voting closes 4 days later on Monday, and at which time the winning track is announced and the wheel is spun. Drivers have from Monday night to Sunday to practice the track. Season 7 organizes 8 races over 9 Sundays. Each race is of a different theme, bringing racing to various locations around Los Santos. We start in the heart, picking 1 of 4 tracks from downtown and surrounding areas. For the second race, we venture to the hills and desert. Then from there, the vote decides our next destination. For the third week is technical tracks with no specific location. The fourth week forces a trip to the industrial district, and the week to follow is a grateful break week. Upon resuming, we take a blast from the past, bringing out the old tracks. Week 6 starts from the downhill stretch, where the track vote includes a mix of leftover themes. Week 7 then provides a selection of remastered tracks, leading us to the finale and the most northern bits of the city, including Toledo Bay and Grapeseed. Upon the lobby starting, drivers should select their cars but not ready up to ensure everybody has a chance to pick their car. Drivers may borrow a car if needed, but it is at their own risk. After the in-race car selection, the pit marshals will sort the grid. The grid should have 2 columns in which the back bumper of the car ahead is 1.5 car lengths to the bumper of the car behind. There should be 1 car width between the 2 columns. Once the grid is sorted, the pit marshals will announce the no earlier than time of when the sticky bombs explode. The start of the race is determined by the sticky bomb explosion. For example, the pit marshals say something like bombs after 2:30, so at 2:30 or soon thereafter, the bombs are set to go off and start the race. Similar to Season 6, Season 7's pit window is based on the in-race time. During the race, drivers are expected to pit 1 time after the 10-minute mark and before the 35-minute mark. To perform a valid pit stop, a driver must enter the pit, stop next to the marshal, wait 10 seconds, then go. Marshals will not be shooting cars. Drivers may pit more than 1 time, but are required to pit at least once during this pit window. Drivers may not avoid slowdowns or cut the pit lane, as this may result in a penalty. Given the nature of the event, a reserve driver must be a similar skill for the driver being reserved for. That is, D5 cannot get a D1 driver to reserve for him. Only drivers 1 division above or 1 division below are eligible. So in the case of a D5 driver needing reserve, D4 and D6 drivers may reserve for the D5 driver. But given the existence of a waiting list, drivers who join late or cannot squeeze into a division at the end of qualifying may still reserve for drivers in need. So waiting list drivers who are of D4, D5, D6 caliber, based on their CT, are eligible to reserve for D5 drivers. Given the nature of contact racing, it is inevitable that there are going to be incidents during the race. In such a case, they can be reported in the tickets channel in Discord. It is required to have a clip of the incidents for it to be reviewed. These incidents must be reported before Monday at 6:30 p.m. Another major change to Season 7 is the introduction to licenses. Yes, you heard that right. This is solely to encourage our community to race as cleanly as possible. So in addition to time penalties being awarded to incidents, licenses and license points provide a systematic way to track and provide consequences to drivers who continue to not race clean. For example, you cause a minor incident like a small tap or a hit, which spins someone out and you don't wait. You'd receive a small time penalty of a few seconds and would get a point on your license. Bigger crashes will get bigger penalties and in turn more points. 6 points over the season will double your next penalty, and then 10 points gets you a week off in the sin bin. Anything after that, and it's farewell for good. For Season 7, the point system has seen an overhaul. In the past, each division would receive the same points per position, but would receive a division bonus to offset the skill. This season, there's instead one main points curve, from first in Division 1 to last in Division 8. The points range from 250 points to first to 1 point for 112th, aka last, with each division's top 5 and bottom 5 positions handing out the same amount of points. With this change, there needed to be a change for the fastest lap points. The fastest lap points used to be 2 points per division, but instead, they are now based on the difference of points between the last 2 positions in each division. For example, Division 1 P13 and Division 1 P14 are separated by 6 points, so D1's fastest lap is worth 6 points, whereas D8 P13 and D8 P14 is a 1 point difference, so D8's fastest lap is only worth 1 point. Given the great number of participants, there is a daunting task of organizing each division's race. This season, the waiting list is returning, more on that later, but assuming the max of 8 divisions are created, that leaves 9 races to run each Sunday. The following race times are based on London's summer time zone, BST. The waiting list race is a 30-minute open to anyone race and is ran at 6 p.m. The division races follow in their own lobbies. Divisions 3 and 6 race at 7 p.m., Divisions 2, 5, and 8 race at 8:15 p.m., and Division 1, 4, and 7 race at 9:30 p.m. Race lobbies open 20 minutes before the start time, and drivers are expected to join as soon as possible. The races start no later than 10 minutes late. Upon joining the race lobby, drivers are required to appear offline to avoid their friends joining mid-race and causing lag. Drivers are to also join the pit marshal's party to listen for instructions, but should feel free to leave the party once the race start time is announced. And that is the gist of the Children of the Mountain racing program. I do thank you, the viewer, for making it this far in the video and the commitment to understand what is going on. For it is not a simple event, but the complexity creates a platform for the most competitive races possible. I have to shout out Cirrus 5005 on PlayStation for being the original creator of this great event, and SmoothJD for bringing it over to Xbox all those years ago. Also thanks to the amazing staff throughout the seasons for making each season better than the last, and finally thank you to all the participants previously involved. And good luck to the children participating in the upcoming season.